expectations daily. The Joy of Painting reached an astounding 80 million viewers, becoming the ideal platform for Bob to share his passion for art with the world. Unfortunately, this success wasn't celebrated by everyone. Tensions between Bob and William. William Alexander, Bob's former mentor, and the architect of the wet-on-wet technique, felt betrayed. He saw Bob as a usurper, capitalizing on the same method he had taught him without giving credit. This unexpected turn of events strained their relationship, causing significant tension between the two artists. While William fiercely contested ownership of the wet-on-wet technique, its roots actually stretch back to the renowned oil painter Caravaggio. Blinded by his own ego, William attributed Bob's success solely to the method, overlooking Bob's true magic. The real secret sauce wasn't the style itself, but Bob's undeniable charisma. His voice, a soothing symphony, could lull even the most restless mind into artistic reverie. Bob's talent lay in his ability to make anyone, regardless of skill level, feel welcome to join his painting adventure. Additionally, the show's charm stemmed from Bob's efficiency. He consistently completed captivating landscapes within the show's half-hour time frame. William, unfortunately, lacked that same appeal. His thick German accent, during a time when Anglo-German relations were still mending, presented a barrier between him and the audience. Unlike Bob's joyful performances, William's programs lacked that inviting warmth. Bob had, in essence, created a haven for free artistic expression, a space where viewers could learn alongside him as a companion on their creative journey. The simplicity of Bob's technique meant anyone with an interest in painting could understand it. However, his genuine enthusiasm and charisma were impossible to copy. His dedication to both his art and his audience shone through in every episode. A heartwarming example is when a viewer wrote in, upset about their color blindness and inability to paint, Bob dedicated an entire episode to painting in shades of gray. This act of genuine concern resonated with audiences. It became clear Bob wasn't just in it for the money. He truly reveled in spreading the joy of painting and empowering others to discover their own artistic spark. Bob's half-hour episodes were a captivating blend of artistry and audience engagement. He'd paint landscapes while weaving in witty commentary, occasionally even inviting his pet squirrel, Peapod, for a special guest appearance. Peapod, a furry fan favorite, made multiple showings due to overwhelming viewer requests. Interestingly, despite The Joy of Painting becoming a top-rated show on PBS for a remarkable 11 years, airing a whopping 403 episodes, Bob himself never received direct payment for his on-air instruction. The bigger picture, however, was building a thriving business. Bob Ross Inc. focused on expanding the show and promoting their brand. While Bob didn't take a salary from the show itself, he amassed wealth through other avenues. The company leveraged the Bob Ross name to promote a vast array of products, art supplies, instructional films, and even books. They also offered workshops taught by certified instructors using Bob's signature wet-on-wet technique. By 1991, what began as a small venture with grand aspirations had blossomed into a $15 million a year powerhouse. Details on personal life. Ross had 2 children from his 3 marriages. While details surrounding his first child, born during his teenage years, remain scarce, his second child, Robert Stephen Ross, affectionately known as Steve Ross, came from his union with Vivian Ridge. Their union, unfortunately, wasn't meant to last. In 1977, Bob and Vivian divorced, with infidelity cited as the primary cause. Following this marital split, Bob didn't wait long to find love again. He soon married Jane, his second wife. Theirs was a companionship filled with warmth, and they remained close until Jane's passing in 1992. Sadly, they didn't have any children together. Just 2 months before succumbing to cancer in 1995, Bob married Linda Brown, his third wife. This union has been the source of much speculation, but ever the private individual, Bob kept details about his personal life under wraps. Personal life troubles. While Bob found immense joy in sharing his knowledge and artistic passion, the Kowalskis had a more profit-driven mindset. For them, maximizing financial gain seemed to be the ultimate goal, seemingly subscribing to the idea that money can buy happiness. Friction arose when rumors of an affair between Bob and Annette began to take hold, but the Kowalskis swiftly squashed them. Years later, however, Bob's son Steve reignited the flames. suggesting the rumors had held some truth all along. Sadly, tension simmered further after Bob's wife, Jane, tragically lost her battle with cancer in 1992. Their once harmonious business partnership began to unravel. When forming the company, the partners had initially agreed upon a contract stipulating an equal distribution of their shares amongst surviving members in the event of a partner's death. Unfortunately, Jane's passing and the subsequent division of her shares left Bob with a minority stake in the corporation built upon his fame and likeness. This perfectly showed the truth of John D. Rockefeller's quote, "A friendship founded on business is better than a business founded on friendship." In Bob's case, Jane's death tragically demonstrated the validity of this statement. Bob Ross's son, Steve. Bob's Joy of Painting stage saw many guests, human and perhaps even otherwise, with the occasional furry visitor, but none held a more significant place than his son, Steve. Bob frequently invited him to appear, showcasing Steve's impressive artistic talent alongside his father's gentle guidance. However, Bob's subtle hints towards Steve potentially taking over the show often missed the mark. As Bob approached retirement, he envisioned a seamless transition with Steve at the helm. Steve, undeniably an accomplished artist, had no desire to follow in his father's footsteps. While Bob saw Steve's natural ability and a reliable backup plan, Steve felt the show lacked a certain authenticity that wouldn't translate. This differing vision strained their relationship. Expectations, both spoken and unspoken, created a rift between them. A heated argument led to a period of silence that stretched on longer than either anticipated. Tragically, it wasn't until Bob's lymphoma diagnosis, a mere few weeks after losing Jane, that they reconnected. Years later, Steve often expressed regret for not carrying on the show after his father's passing. The rift, though temporary, left an undeniable mark: Bob Ross's diagnosis and conflict with Kowalski's. Despite the debilitating effects of his illness, Bob remained fiercely committed to the joy of painting. He continued filming episodes, offering his signature warmth and artistic inspiration, even when the physical and mental strain left him drained. Even on days when getting out of bed seemed impossible, Bob still pushed on, determined to bring joy to his viewers. He bravely kept his diagnosis a secret from the crew, carrying the weight of his illness like a ticking time bomb. Yet his humor and passion for art remained undimmed. In a bittersweet act of defiance, Bob often churned out 3 or 4 episodes in a single day, all while facing his own mortality. Art became his solace, his refuge from the encroaching darkness. His one wish was to leave behind a legacy of joy for his audience, even after his passing. However, a growing sense of isolation began to set in. People he considered friends started distancing themselves, their priorities shifting from Bob the man to the financial value of Bob Ross, the brand. The company became increasingly focused on preserving the Bob Ross name for their own profit, a contrast to the genuine human connection he craved. The Kowalskis' anxiety over their financial future grew as Bob's health declined, their focus solely on finding a solution to their predicament rather than his well-being. Facing this heartbreaking betrayal by those he once trusted, Bob was left with a difficult choice. After 403 episodes, spanning 11 seasons from 1983 to 1994, Bob made the unexpected decision to end the joy of painting. His final words, a heartfelt farewell, resonated deeply with his loyal viewers, who had no idea they were witnessing the end of an era. Though his show had ended, Bob found a brief moment of fulfillment in 1995 with an appearance on Elmer and Friends, fulfilling a lifelong dream. It was his final public appearance before succumbing to his illness later that year. Bob's already strained relationship with the Kowalskis fractured further. Now in control of the company, they viewed Bob as an asset to be managed, wielding power over his appearances. His once supportive colleagues prioritized protecting the brand's image, fearing his thinning hair, which he concealed with a wig, and potential illness news would damage their bottom line. Bob, ever the optimist, remained focused on his dream and creating a joyful experience for the children. His Elmer and Friends appearance embodied his lifelong ambition of being a TV personality, a bittersweet moment given his declining health. As Bob's illness progressed, a tense visit from Annette Kowalski made the growing chasm worse. Claiming Bob had already given consent, She pressured Steve to get him to sign a document granting them perpetual use of his name and likeness for a post-mortem monument, a blatant attempt to capitalize on his passing. Steve, outraged at the Kowalskis' sudden self-interest after years of friendship, refused to burden his ailing father with the contract. While Annette backed down on that particular visit, the message was undeniably clear. The Kowalskis desired absolute control over Bob's legacy, their frustration mounting with each passing day as Bob, weakened but resolute, never signed the document. Beyond the mere formality of a signature, Bob's existence seemed to hold no significance to them anymore. His likeness and memory, a potential goldmine for their company, were far more valuable than the man himself. The Kowalskis' actions became excessive. Their phone calls to the Ross household became relentless, shattering the peaceful repose of Bob's final days. Steve, during a later interview, recounted how his normally placid father would become visibly agitated and upset after each call. Haunted echoes of Bob's anguished shouts, a desperate plea of, "You're not getting my name," would pierce the quiet, showing the emotional toll the harassment was taking. Despite his best efforts to maintain some distance from the Kowalskis and preserve the values he held dear, Bob could never have predicted the storm that would erupt after his passing. His attempts to shield himself from their relentless pursuit proved futile, leaving a bitter taste in the aftermath. The death of Bob Ross and legal disputes. On July 4, 1995, the world lost a gentle soul. Bob Ross succumbed to complications from lymphoma at the young age of 52. Years of smoking, a habit from his adult life, likely contributed to his illness. True to his private nature, only Bob's closest family and friends knew of his diagnosis and subsequent passing. His final resting place is in the peaceful Gotha section of Woodlawn Memorial Park, Florida. News of Bob's death wouldn't reach the wider public for quite some time. The secrecy surrounding his illness extended to his funeral, attended by a mere 40 mourners, with a noticeable absence from the Kowalski family. Their focus, upon learning of Bob's passing, seemed less on the loss of a friend or colleague, and more on the potential impact on their business. Bob, for them, had become a mere cog in the profit machine, a means to an end. With Bob gone, the terms of their agreement allowed the Kowalskis to take full legal ownership of Bob Ross Inc. Yet a sense of unease lingered. They knew word of Bob's death would eventually leak, taking their advantage with it. Without Bob, the heart and soul of their company, Annette and Walt realized mere ownership wasn't enough. If they couldn't legally control his image and name, their business model would crumble. They needed more than just the company. They needed to ensure complete control over Bob Ross, the brand. Without the rights to Bob's name and likeness, the Kowalskis' primary goal, merchandise production, remained out of reach. Determined to achieve complete control, they abandoned persuasion and opted for a more aggressive approach. While Bob, thankfully, never yielded to their demands for ownership of his estate before his passing, the Kowalskis were now prepared to take it through legal channels. Bob's will, a clear statement of his wishes, excluded the Kowalskis entirely. He left his estate, and crucially, the rights to his name and likeness, to his son Steve and half-brother Jimmy Cox. This seemingly straightforward situation would soon become a legal quagmire, showing how ruthless the Kowalskis could get. Unwilling to accept anything less than complete control, the Kowalskis challenged Bob's will. Their claim extended to every asset Bob had acquired while working for Bob Ross Inc., a blatant attempt to rewrite history and diminish his contribution. It was all or nothing for them, and they came prepared. Steve, in a later interview, recounted a chilling phone call with Annette just 2 days after his father's death. Her message was clear and devoid of any semblance of empathy. Steve could pursue any business venture he desired, but painting under the Bob Ross name was strictly forbidden. This chilling ultimatum foreshadowed the legal onslaught to come. The Kowalskis' greed knew no bounds. They not only targeted Steve, but also his half-brother and mother, filing a lawsuit to claim ownership of everything Bob had created: finished paintings, brushes, even the very essence of his work. This legal frenzy, orchestrated by the Kowalskis, took over everything associated with Bob Ross. The targets of their lawsuit extended far beyond the expected. The Kowalskis even challenged the ownership of The Joy of Painting itself, alongside another children's program Bob had hosted on YPB TV shortly before his passing. The potential damages soared to $500,000, a truly shocking figure for a show aimed at inspiring young artists. Despite his weakened state, Bob soldiered on, appearing in his final children's show via green screen. However, even this valiant effort couldn't deter the relentless Kowalskis. Their ultimate goal was complete control over Bob's legacy. Steve, dealing with grief and the guilt of a strained relationship, became the guardian of his father's legacy. The Kowalskis' litigious nature instilled fear in him. Determined to protect what remained, Steve, on legal counsel, filed a countersuit. He desperately sought any leverage to maintain control of his father's name. A glimmer of hope emerged. Unfortunately, due to Steve's emotional state at the time, Jimmy Cox was appointed temporary guardian. In this capacity, Jimmy unknowingly signed documents during the legal wrangling, documents that granted Bob Ross Inc. complete control. This included the coveted audio recordings of Bob's conversations with the Kowalskis, a significant loss. Despite these setbacks, Steve persevered. He eventually won a crucial lawsuit, securing the right to carry on his father's beloved wet-on-wet painting style. Thankfully, Bob's reputation remained largely unscathed. His gentle spirit and artistic instruction continued to inspire, as shown by the BBC's decision to re-air his programs during the pandemic. So, while the Kowalskis attempted to exploit his legacy for personal gain, Bob's true impact won over their greed. Bob Ross's ever-enduring legacy. Even death couldn't diminish the public's adoration for Bob Ross. He remains, even after years, one of America's most celebrated and commercially successful artists. This resurgence is largely fueled by the rise of digital media, which has introduced Bob's work to a whole new generation, while also rekindling the love of his longtime fans. The evidence is undeniable. Bob's official Twitch channel boasts over 2 million followers, eagerly consuming his calming instruction and delightful happy accidents. Meanwhile, his classic shows find new life on YouTube, garnering enthusiastic viewership. Netflix, in 2021, further amplified his story with the documentary Bob Ross: Happy Accidents, Betrayal and Greed, detailing both his inspiring life and the legal battles that erupted with the Kowalskis after his passing. Bob's influence goes beyond television. The 2023 film Paint, while not a direct biopic, featured Owen Wilson portraying a painter who mirrored many of Bob's signature traits: the calming voice, the gentle demeanor, and of course, the beloved wet-on-wet technique. Perhaps most remarkable is the enduring popularity of Bob's original paintings. Despite creating a staggering 30,000 works, they remain elusive. Collectors fiercely compete for the rare pieces that appear on the market, often outbidding interest in even more contemporary or critically acclaimed art. It's worth noting that Bob, in his lifetime, would have strongly opposed his work being solely valued for its market potential. His true passion lay in sharing the joy of painting, not enriching art brokers. While Bob himself may have been against profiting from his art, his original oil paintings have become highly sought-after collectibles. Charities and public broadcasting stations remain the fortunate recipients of a significant portion of his work. For those yearning to see an original Bob Ross in person, the Bob Ross Workshop in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, boasts a sizable collection, making it a pilgrimage site for dedicated fans. The limited number of paintings that do trickle onto the market often command huge prices. A Walk in the Woods, a rare Bob Ross not owned by Bob Ross Inc., is a prime example. Originally purchased by a dedicated station volunteer for a mere $1,100 and cherished for 39 years, the painting's value skyrocketed after an appraisal. Its current asking price of a staggering $9.85 million represents a mind-boggling increase. Art appraisers categorize Bob's work as a unique blend of fine art and entertainment memorabilia. While countless talented artists have emerged since his passing, none have quite captured the same magic. Bob's enduring appeal lies in his calming presence, encouraging instruction, and of course, the instantly recognizable wet-on-wet technique. Unlike traditional art collectors seeking trendy pieces, Bob's audience, captivated by his show, are the ones driving this remarkable demand. The remaining Bob Ross originals can be categorized into two groups: those sold during the show itself and those predating his involvement with Bob Ross Inc. Both categories are fiercely contested by collectors, with Bob Ross Inc. curiously absent from the ownership equation. Till today, Bob Ross remains a source of inspiration for millions, not just aspiring artists, but anyone seeking a dose of calm and creativity. We don't make mistakes, we just have happy accidents. And there are no mistakes in the world of happy painting continue to motivate everyone. In Bob's world, anything was possible, a belief he readily shared with his viewers. Despite the legal troubles with the Kowalskis, Bob's legacy extends far beyond commerce. His gentle spirit and belief in the power of creativity live on in his paintings. His show's enduring popularity and the ever-growing online community he continues to inspire. What do you think of Bob Ross, the art world's unlikeliest hero? Did his approach to painting resonate with you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Until next time.
It is the biggest single art collection.
The season finale to the greatest Star Wars show to ever exist still doesn't exist because, well, this is Disney Plus, and this is The Acolyte season finale. Yes, guys, episode 8 of The Boss Acolyte has hit Disney Plus finally, and I'm here to honor a franchise, a fallen franchise, that is, in the form of Star Wars. So I ask you all in the comments to not only drop a like, a subscribe, and a comment, but to take a moment of silence for a franchise that was once great and perhaps may yet still be one day. Perhaps is the key word because it's Disney. Anyways, moment of silence.
On that note,
Star Wars lies dead. How did it die? Let's take a look.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you
Not the
bracing
gayest
yourself?
Star Wars. Not the.
It's pretty gay, let's be honest.
Not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Okay, that's enough silence. It doesn't deserve more than that. Guys, this is episode 8. It's called The Acolyte. That's the name of the episode and the show. So we're going to find out who truly is the Acolyte in this episode. And we're going to break this down, dive right into the episode scene by scene. So grab your seats, hold on to your popcorn, and maybe we might need some whiskey for this one, to be honest. I think it's a good idea. So pour one out. Cheers. And let's do this. The episode begins with a cosplaying young dark Jedi fallen Sith warrior acolyte lady in a Lego Star Wars helmet. Seriously, this thing is way too big for her. And yes, none of that made sense, but it's okay because we're talking about a show that also doesn't make sense. Anyways, the helmet seems to have taken hold of her, maybe possessing her with dark spirits.
Musha.
Not sure why, not sure how. It just is. Seriously, I don't know what this vision is, but they both become possessed by this spirit or a vision of the future. It's very unclear. And just like my suit and my soul after watching this show, his eyes go completely black. It kind of reminds me of the lesbian witch possession with Torben, but we're not exactly sure what it is. We see him battling in this other world, and just like the Torben possession, everything goes sort of dark around them. After a lot of grunting and moaning and several neck veins later, he finally grabs the helmet and manages to take it off of Osha's head. We can see in her eyes this glowing red. We're not sure what that is either. Are they Sith eyes? Sith eyes are typically yellow. Correct me if I'm wrong. So again, just another Disney Star Wars piece of bullshit thrown in to confuse you and make you think about nothing.
Me. It's on me.
Oh,